Right, I was going to try and do this in a short. It's not working. So, my experience with a resin coat epoxy floor paint. Looks great where it was bare concrete. I mean, happy with that. That's brilliant. As you can see over the other side there, now there are some patches where it is still quite a little bit tacky, so I'm not going to walk on it because I don't want to make it worse than it already is. See the patchiness? The irony of which is this patchiness is because I put their paint on top of their self-leveler. As you can see, I did a bit extra here because I actually managed to get one coat slightly further than I thought I would. Now this part here, interestingly, is one coat of the epoxy with a little bit of thinners that I had for another epoxy in it. And that spread out beautifully and went on nicely. As you can see, it could do with a second coat, but that's kind of what you expect, because the idea is the first coat seals the floor, the second coat gives you the shine. Now, as you can see, where it looks really nice and thick, and it's sort of gone like glass where it's thick. Like you said, when you look at this, it's gone very glassy. And it looks nice. It's going to do the job lovely. Now you might say, well, what's the purpose of it? Well, it's to keep the floor waterproof. But now, I don't know if you can see that. There's a lot of dust settled in it, which doesn't particularly surprise me in this workshop. To be entirely honest, doesn't really surprise me at all. There was some bubbles, which you can see in areas under the surface. There's some here where it's bubbled up. And I mean, I really did work this quite hard. And it was work, I'll tell you. It's so thick it doesn't spread very well. It needs thinners in it. Now, they tell you, I understand they want to sell you 1,000 products. The patch I did over there on the floor underneath the lift, I used an epoxy mastic, so that paint is actually a PPG concrete floor paint with a bit of thinners in it, and that went down beautiful. It was very easy, very nice to do. It hasn't got the shine that this has got, but that was only one coat and it's not that thick. I get that they're trying to make the glossy floor image that you see in their photos. The problem is, there aren't many of us who've got a floor that looks like that. I mean, this floor, even that side there, is never going to look absolutely amazing if I was to coat it all. I mean, the actual paint itself looks great, but I feel it could have gone down a lot better. My first experience with it, not great. I mean, so this square here, so I ordered 10 litres and it comes in 2 separate buckets with 2 little 1 litre bottles of the hardener, and you mix it, pour one into the other, mix it some more, lay it down. And they tell you you've only got a 20-minute pot life, and because it's already so thick, if you're trying to lay this, don't do it on your own. Luckily I had a couple of people around to help me, but it just turned into a nightmare. I ended up using this brush because once I'd gone across and painted it, it just looked patchy. So I used this brush to sort of smooth it out a bit, which is why this side looks as good as it does. they tell you, obviously, you can use the epoxy roller. The epoxy rollers are 20 quid. Where do you draw the line on spending money on a building you're renting? In my opinion, they should do cheaper options for epoxy floor paint, especially for when you're working in other people's sheds. But it'll do the job. It will seal that floor up. It'll stop the damp going into the floor, help reflect light. So it will do what I wanted it to do. It just doesn't look as good as I hoped it would look. The self-leveler, and next to the fact that it sucked in all the paint, the self-leveler that they supplied, I mean, now, if you look at the shorts I put up, you could see the edges of where all the self-leveler was, but now it's down. I mean, it looks good. So, would I buy a resin coat floor paint again? I'll be honest with you, I think I'd rather pay. So like I said, they're 5 litre, well, it's like a 5 litre bucket, but you don't get 5 litres in it at all, nowhere near. So that's the size bucket they sell you, with the A in it. Now they sell you it by weight, not by litrage. So they sell you that as 5 litres. The bucket, when you get it, it's probably got about this much paint in it. And you add the hardener and it's probably comes up to about here. That to me is probably a 5 litre bucket, maybe up to that line, something like that. It's probably about 5 litres. So the fact that they're selling it in kilos is a little bit deceiving, because like I say, that's 5 litres. Well, 5 kilos. The other bucket was another 5 kilos, which is 10 kilos. Mixed, I'd say I probably had 8 litres or less of paint to do that area of floor. Now, in comparison, this floor paint here, which looks very dirty, but if you sweep up the dust and mop it, it actually looks fine. But that patch there, so as you can see, it's not quite a 2 metre square, but that was 2 litres of paint, but I didn't use it all there. All that paint on that bench, there, all the way down there, plus I put 1 coat of that paint on there, and there. And the reason I did that was to waterproof those surfaces, because this is just MDF board, which is not very waterproof and doesn't like water. So, but I did that. So I did 3 of those shelves. So I would imagine I'll probably get, what's that, 1.5, let's say. So that's probably 3 metres squared, with that probably 4 metres square out of a 2 litre kit. So 2 metres squared out of a 4 litre kit. Now this is 20 square metres out of 10 kilos. That works out about 260 quid for 20 litres. You know, decision's up to you. But there's my opinion and thoughts of using resin coat epoxy floor paint. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.